Welcome to the We Are ND Nation podcast. I am Evan J. Thomas. With me always is Dennis Stover. And on today's show, we'll be recapping number 9 Notre Dame and their 41-17 victory over Central Michigan. And wait, was that the right score? Yeah, it was, right. Okay. 41-17. I'm already nervous as hell. So there you go. We will name our player of the game, what to expect this week at home against Ohio State, and we will name that former ND player game with Dennis. But we have a guest today, a very, very special guest. 4 years in the making to get him on. He played wide receiver at Notre Dame from 1968 to 1971. I know this is where Dennis starts to get amped up. Yeah. He got many receiving records. Some were not broken until at least 30 years later. He had 157 receptions for 2,283 yards and 19 touchdowns. He was a consensus All-American in 1970 after a then Notre Dame record 77 receptions for 1,123 yards. This man still holds the record for the most catches per game in a season at Notre Dame with 7.7. He was the first African-American team captain in Notre Dame history, an academic All-American. He was drafted number 107 in the 5th round of the 1972 NFL draft by the New York Football Giants. And in 2015, he was enshrined into the College Football Hall of Fame. Welcome to the We Are ND Nation podcast, the legend himself, Thom Gatewood.
Yes.
Here I am. Now I go by
he is.
Thom now by my moniker, but all the facts and figures and catalogs all say TOM. That's Correct. How I started out, but then I progressed later.
I saw that you had changed it, and I actually have everything correct on all my promos and everything, so everything has been good. I'm just glad I didn't ruin that intro because that
was one of your better ones. So it's good. And Zorich, you did a good job with Zorich too. So the Zorich, it's good to know we respect the ND Hall of Famers.
The other guy not so much, I guess, right?
Yeah, we're delicate.
So, can I call you Thom, or should I just go Mr. Gatewood? Because I'm not sure what to say.
Please, all about the name. Do the name, okay. Or you can use my jersey number 44. All through camp, whether it was rookie ball, which was JV. In our day, first year freshman, right. The JV, not to the varsity, but you wear the same number. You hope throughout. So 44 was given to me. Weird number for a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Then.
Were you they were looking at you to play another position, or you said, no, I'm playing wide receiver and that's it?
When I walked in the first day for training camp in the summer of 1968, the equipment manager, Gene O'Neill, had it all set. They knew my shoe size, they knew, my shirt size and so forth and so on. But the number 44, I didn't understand. And I said, well, what's it about? And he said, let me look at the list. It says here, Gatewood, number 44, here are your sizes, so forth and so on. That's all I know. I said, is that for a running back, that 44? He said, I think so. So that started my question and answer period for the next 2 or 3 days, because I was really confused until they just said, go over there in that line. That's where you're lining up to practice. I said, so I guess you guys are in charge. I'll have to, at some point, battle my way to become a receiver where I'm much, much more comfortable.
Yeah.
And obviously it worked out for you pretty well. There you go. All right. So I do have some information that this weekend you're going to be, you're getting an award, the 2023 Rockne Living Legend Award. So you're being given that this weekend, and talk to us a little bit about what that's all involved.
Well, it's a luncheon environment, and lots of people, probably 400 or so, something like that, sitting in the Morris End, getting a close glance at people from different sports being, honored. And when I first got the title of the award was Living Legend.
Legend, I saw that.
I was getting a little nervous. It's like, because they did this about a month in advance, and I was saying, I hope I'm still here when you give the award, because otherwise it's a negative situation. But anyway, it's, I guess, just taking a look back and seeing some of the folks. Some of us were, sort of barrier breakers, because there were many schools that that did not recruit me because of segregation in their particular state or policy at universities or whatever the case may be. So you can sort of color in the states of the United States to see where you could be recruited or not recruited by, or don't bother getting on the plane or driving on the campus to see what's going on. So we were going through different stages of what was happening politically. You had to sort of bypass all that. And then so you're looking at schools in the Big Ten, the Pac-8, Pac-12 rather, and then it was the Pac-10. Looking in the East, the Northeast, looking at some parts of places like Colorado, or you're just looking all over the place. But when all was said and done, the schools that were in southern states that were recruiting African Americans sent letters to me as well. So at some point, I'm counting at least 100 offers. Even then, but you're counting Delaware State, you're going way down in terms of the number of schools that you can get that have big programs or small programs, and you're trying to measure it. But
was it predominantly HBCUs from the South?
Not,
or were there other big schools?
There were other big schools that were definitely there recruiting. I mean, USC, UCLA, Sinclair at Michigan. So there were, big programs that had already, integrated their lineups and so forth and so on. So, you could take a look at Temple, look at Penn State, and Independent. But if there were any African Americans on teams in any of those other challenge conferences, it was just coming around. So you could see it dotted, the lineup dotted with 1 or 2 athletes on the varsity. And from there, you had to pick your way around.
So I'm going to just throw out one of the fan questions we have since we're discussing this. Our friend Julian Rosales, who actually booked you for this show. So thank you to Julian. So he said that since you just mentioned you were highly recruited around many schools, why did you actually pick then Notre Dame? Was it because of their aura, their ambiance, what they've done in the past, or was it something else that pushed you there?
Predominantly, and the big underlying main reason was the different recruiting questions asked by Coach Parsegan and answers given by me to him. Many of the schools were classifying me as a can't miss candidate, absolutely all-American material. A lot of big schools weren't mentioning anything about academics unless I brought it up. Some of those come off the chart, because my main purpose for going to college was to get a degree, not to play football. I was a high school All-American. I was an all-state player in the state of Maryland. So I had credentials in terms of the athletic side. The credentials that I had academically was that I was a Dean's List student, an honor student, depending on which schools you're in, so forth and so on. So I was not at risk to flunk out. It was really totally in my power to do whatever was going to happen. But Coach Parsegan basically, laid it out to me and said, we base our picks on performance, not potential. Said all I can get out of a film is potential. If you get here and we're making guesses, we're going to make very, very, very expert, guesses, but we can't just decide, look at that film, look at him leap over this or run around this. It's all to scale. If you're playing against a team that's pretty slow of foot, you look extremely fast. If you've got 2 teams that are battling and the speed is an issue, then everything slows it down. And now you're looking at technique, blocking skills. You're looking at the strength and power that you can get that extra yard, that extra 2 yards. I think that went into the thinking of the coaching staff when they looked at my film, which incidentally went to most of the schools that I was being recruited by my coach. He was high tech, had all kinds of ways to show you off on tape. I keep saying tape, film, wasn't video, not in those days. It was just
It was
you
a
could cut it
real
with
reel.
a
We
weight.
know that.
Well, when I played in high school, we still watched film. So
Yeah.
And I graduated. We graduated in '93. So
Gotcha. So the recruiting, method was basically scouts in zones around the country. I slipped through the cracks because we had a dominant team in Baltimore, and they've recruited in Baltimore before, but I never saw any letters come in from there. So he took it upon himself, my coach, George Young, who wound up with the pros, starting with Baltimore. Shula took him to Miami.
oh wow.
The general manager down there, and he was the one building that team at the time. And then after that, he wound up with the New York Giants. And so he had a really wide range of tactics and understanding of the game. So he had us playing ahead of time. We were running plays that the pros were running. So I would line up at tight end, split out. Now I'm a wide out, get in the backfield, play fullback. I was, sort of all around, kind of a player. So I had big numbers across the board, and that's what they were looking at. And so I think that was the tip-off that maybe we could use him there, because we are in the process of rebuilding. The '66 team that won the championship, they were moving on. It was a transition year in '67 coming in, and '68. We were building for the future.
Awesome.
Wow. That is great. So I'm going to have Dennis go with the next question, since we had a few for you before we get going on the regular show.
So when you played in your and maybe not so much the rivalry, but who was the toughest defensive back that you had to compete against going up for a ball or having a block on a run or any of that? Do you remember any stand of mind?
I think Tommy Casanova, who played for LSU. It was a game that we lost in my senior year. We beat them in my junior year, the year that we were until losing against Southern Cal in the rain, in the same year that we won the game in the Cotton Bowl. So we were one game short of probably, and I consider myself, or our team with Theismann that year, probably the best team that Notre Dame had that didn't win the championship.
Really. It's like the '93 team.
Right. And it's to give you another highlight on Julian, but since we can pop back to that, I met him as a result of him flying on a plane on business, talking to a young lady who was on a board of a operation called Healthy Children, Healthy Futures. And they got to talking, and somehow my name popped up, and Julian lost it. He just said, "What? Thom Gatewood? I was Thom Gatewood when I was a kid. I was wearing number 4 every Notre Dame game, and so forth and so on." So he called me up, said, "I got your number. Can we meet sometime in New York?" That was years and years ago. Wow. And we've been buddies ever since. And he was kind of in shock a little bit that I accepted. Yes, let's sit down and chat in New York. I wanted to throw that back out there.
So like super fan and gets to meet one of his heroes, and then you guys become a friendship. So there you go. That's how that all works. So I have a pretty fun question for you here on this one. So what are your thoughts of Notre Dame potentially joining a conference? And if they do, which one would you want them to join?
Well, that was easy. They're not going to join a conference. Okay. That's one of the reasons that I chose Notre Dame, because they were an independent. And in those days, there were a lot more
independents. Yeah.
A lot more independents around. But they didn't like the idea of being controlled. And they felt as an independent, they were able to probably get a higher bid by TV. And TV was really just underway with the Notre Dame, graduate, Roone Arledge, who was at ABC Sports. That was where you would see the nationally televised games for the most part. They would take over big clumps and big territories.
Oh, is that right?
And so you know, that we didn't have ESPN, we didn't have Fox Sports, have CBS Sports. It was basically ABC, and they got the big contract there, and they felt we were in control of that and our brand. They were actually using the word brand even in 1968 when I was recruited. That's from an advertising standpoint. The fact that they had 300 powerful 50,000 watt stations playing games on radio. So you got more expanse there. You got Armed Forces radio.
Right.
You got so there was nobody could match that at the time. So if you were interested in having a platform and showing not just the NFL scouts what you could do, but also some of those other schools that weren't drafting and not bringing in and recruiting African American players, you had a showcase. And all of a sudden, you kept showing that I can do that. I can do what you do. I can do what you do. And there you go. I didn't really get any recruiting mail from any schools that were historically Black schools. Wow. And I lived in Baltimore.
Oh, wow.
Morgan State College is right there. And I was at a banquet, a student banquet, and I was to get an award there. I believe it was the day that I was named Maryland State Player of the Year. And the coach, his last name was Banks. And he said, I'm not even bothering to recruit Thom Gatewood because the Naval Academy is after him. And they're probably putting on the bidding table a battleship that he can for himself and just do something with it in the backyard. But I don't have the budget to own a battleship, so we can't waste all of our money for recruiting on one guy.
Wow.
And he said it facetiously, but I was like, that was like, sort of a showstopper. But it was basically true, thinking that he didn't mind seeing the caliber of player that I was go off to the big leagues, because eventually that was going to help the civil rights movement. And I was all for that. So being a barrier breaker, I did my best to play my game as taught to me by Eric Orsegan, a man with vision, a man with unbelievable, ways to manipulate formations. He was doing formations that they do today, then, using motion, people in motion, getting in different positions. The main thing was all about being comfortable. You could be more comfortable as a receiver if you were making whoever was standing in front of you to try to stop you, make him uneasy, put him in a position on the field that he's not used to being on. So if you're going to play against me man to man, and you're not used to playing man to man, but you're a tough defender, you're going to be out of touch when I go across the field. Rather than going straight and stretching the field north and south, I'm widening out and I'm going on a cross route. And the places you're used to isn't there, and you're trying to get through a field of other people and other bodies. And I have the vision looking forward. He's got his back to his help or anything else. And so, that's something that he developed. So I was learning how to play slot, play wide, start in the I formation, go in motion. I was constantly on the move, because in those days when I was playing, one receiver was,
that's what you had.
Not who was a possession guy. Everybody in the stadium knew that the ball was going to go to you.
Right.
Well, they thought they could make it easy by just playing one man, and the one man wasn't going to work, and two men couldn't do it either, because I could do a pick and make it look very, very lawful, and just sort of sieve my way across the field and make some catches. And so that made it kind of interesting.
Dennis, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, this one's kind of maybe the Homer ND, but should Theismann have won the Heisman?
That's pretty tough, you know.
I know Jim Plunkett had a really good year, but
Yeah, Plunkett had a great year. We were on a lot of All-America teams together, so I
yeah,
had to talk to Plunkett. And Randy Bataha was his
wow.
receiver in college, and he was less able to run, so he was much more pocket quarterback than Joe. Joe had speed and Joe had quickness, and Joe was smaller, the bulk of his body. So, you know, getting beat up by just going back and stepping, he just felt, hey, I can show some escapism. And that would be more appreciated today than it even was then, because the other guys were really about, if this is a running situation, let's hand it off. But Joe was very, very clever with his handling his hands and the ball, and knowing when to give it up and when to take it off for himself.
Okay.
I thought he had a lot more versatility than Plunkett, but at the time, the NFL was a pocket quarterback haven. It wasn't.
Okay.
It really wasn't. You know, hey, let's that quarterback run.
Right.
It was more about stay in the pocket, throw the ball. Where
Okay.
he got shown his ability more was in Canada when he played for the Argonauts after leaving the deal on the table with the Dolphins. He just said, well, I'm drafted by you, but trade me. I'm going to. And went up there and won a couple of great cups, bigger field, you know, kind of a rough, you know, kind of an atmosphere. He was spectacular there. And I think he was more pressed to show what he could do and audition now for the NFL and say, here's what you missed. And he still had enough life left to go and do that. But kind of a interesting little play on Theismann, who was really Thiesman.
Thiesman, right. Changed it.
And he just changed his identity. And I think maybe there was some people who were voting for Thiesman and somebody else voting for Theismann, and he lost some votes there. So maybe
so he did himself in.
Yeah, I think he backfired. I think that the whole thing, whoever his agent was, kind of backfired on that. But
oh boy, that's great.
Great talent. We had a ball together, and anytime that we rarely threw to each other on the sidelines during the game. What we did was talk about who's got the dinner reservation tonight, and we rarely. You never saw a guy who should eat so much but be so thin. He was at 165 pounds, 170 pounds, you know, something like that. And but a real competitor. That's what I would call him, a survivor. He thought he could get out of any situation, and we had a great rapport for each other, and we could run routes. But he just said, "Just get open, man. Just get open."
So I got one more for you. So how often do you still see your teammates? I mean, obviously those that are still with us. How often do you guys get together?
Well, right now I'm sitting in South Bend, Indiana. That's where I've been living for 6 years. Some family health issues brought us to the Midwest. My wife is a Michigan State grad. So we basically sort of almost flipped a coin to say, well, where are we going? Because we just need to be within the Bay City, you know, sort of area of Michigan, of being from Michigan. And I was controlling the flip. So you never saw the result of the flip. So so we want so that's where I'm hanging out. Our thing is, and I'm on the board of the Monogram Club. That's nice. A great source of invites for basically bringing players back to the university, because for a while there were things that were going on and they weren't really being as touchy-feely and bringing players back. Now it's a legacy network that brings not only the guys back who are former players, but they're guys who went off after here and had successful careers, connected themselves with places. Myself, I connected with Roone Arledge. I got into television, working in television at ABC Sports. did that for a while. When I finished up with TV, I was working for the Madison Square Garden production center. So I was doing everything from dog championships at Westminster to you name it, NBA basketball. Ran into Austin Carr, who's a star basketball player.
Oh yeah.
Winning the Notre Dame. He was doing the not play-by-play, but he was doing the color for the Cavaliers. And I snuck up behind him when I was doing some production on stuff in the truck, tapped him on the shoulder, and he turned around. We had not seen each other for 35, 40, at least 40 or 42 years. And he still remembered my voice. He has a very easy voice to be able to remember, but we chatted a little bit. So I do meet players on the road, but we are wide open here. If players are coming back, they are treated with open arms, and you are welcome. The new head coach, Freeman, he understands open arms. He understands the value to recruiting that having former players come back and meet and talk with the players and give them the real rundown, the inside straight. We've learned how to basically mentor better. So that's not a word that's just sort of thrown around. We are in the face of our players coming in. We're on panels talking so that parents and grandparents can hear what happens to your son between the time he gets here and the time he leaves. And the fact that we have a 40 to 50 year window after you leave. And I'm an example of that, where you can meet the people who broke the records in their era, and you can still, cry about it, because I can cry about it very easily, because when I played, you had 10 games, and if you went to a bowl game, you got an extra. And our team was the first to go back to bowl games in 45 years. 1925, Stanford, and a win for Notre Dame, but they shut it down and said, the schedule's long enough. We don't want to take teams out to bowl games and add extra time on their practice. That's not going to happen, so they stopped. But in 1970, we played against Texas and in the Cotton Bowl, and we were winning until the final seconds, and the game turned out to be 24-17, and that's the way it goes. But we had a repeat the following year, and we shut down the wishbone of Darrell Royal and the Texas Longhorns. Yep. And it was a whole new era. We were open and ready to go play in those bowl games. And as an independent, you had, certain ones you could get into and some that you couldn't, because the various conferences would take over those. But
that's right, yeah.
So historically, I'm saying to, you guys who are, breaking my record, and Golden Tate and, Samardzija, these guys are playing 12-game seasons, and all of them are varsity. So you just 48 versus, 40. I mean, it's that's a big difference when you got 8 more games to play.
It is. I never thought of that.
And you also playing in bowl games. So if you're going to a bowl, you got an extra one thrown in. So maybe an asterisk might be good in some of those record books to say, let's reconsider what the deal was.
Yeah, especially when they are basically playing a full season more than you did, just to even get those stats. So yeah, this is crazy. My God, it is an absolute honor to have you on. This is just amazing to hear your stories and know a little bit more about you, and just kind of hear your growing up in Notre Dame back in the late 60s, early 70s, that whole time of everything. So
I had a great time. It was nice going back to old times and comparing it to the new days.
So are you guys ready to talk about last week's game and the upcoming game against Ohio State?
Yeah, we got to.
We got to. All right, so let's talk about the Central Michigan game. Obviously, Notre Dame won 41-17, school record, 5th straight 40-plus point game. Dennis, we usually do a player of the game. At least we started it last week. Dennis, did you have a player of the game from last?
I probably would. I mean, yeah, you have to go with Estime. I mean,
I think I put that in there for
107. Yeah, you did, but I would agree with that. 176 yards. I mean, he averaged almost a first down a carry. I mean, I love this guy. He's
9 points.
it's so wonderful to see him and he's got speed. That touchdown was called back.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is special. He's so fun to, and I was saying it years ago, and I'm going to continue to say it. I hope this ND who's ever watching now, maybe Thom has some good pull, offer this cat some money so then he comes back next year and doesn't go to the NFL, so we get him for one more year. Why not? Just saying.
Yeah, I mean that would be the time where the NIL makes sense if you can keep a guy, happy and give them a chance to say, for Notre Dame pride, I want to play another year. I like it here. I like what I've been doing. Give you a little bit more growth if you can get it. I like his style, his build. He looks a lot like him. My wife and I sit on the couch and we're watching our grandson, AJ Dillon, number 28 at Bay, is another lower your shoulders and pop through. And if you can get really sustained blocking up front and you get a gap, you could be gone. And so play at Boston College was being a tailback, a single back, guy, and getting through on jump cuts into the gaps. And he could run 75 yards for a score. He had lots of long runs. Now you're in more of a reserve situation. I mean, Estime is 230, 235 pounds, and AJ is 260, 255. Wow. He's 6 foot tall, and I think Estime is about that, 6 or 6'1", something like that. They don't throw that much to Estime, but when they can, they will. That was the same offense that AJ was running, and he's had success at Green Bay. They're trying to find their game now. They've got Jordan Love trying to work on things, but that's a long or short. He could play in Estime could play in the NFL right now from a standpoint of body strength, speed, so forth and so on. But it does take time to groom to fit the offense that you're going to after having done what you've done in college.
So I got to pick up AJ Dillon in one of my fantasy teams. So he's currently on my team. He might actually get a start this week. He did start week 1. My favorite part of Estime in last week's game was the end of the game when he had 2 catches or 2 runs in a row where he hurdled. He hurdled straight up to the cross leg over and another like 5 to 8 yards. I was like, man, this guy, not only will he, like you said, bury you with a shoulder, he will hurdle you 8 feet in the air and freaking keep going. So
that was pretty awesome.
That was amazing watching him. Sam Hartman had an amazing game. 626, 330 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, again, 0 interceptions. So he's been so efficient, and he's still in the Heisman talk, obviously, after the 4-0 start. We had 9 more wide receivers with a catch. We had 9 players with a rush. So they're just moving that ball around. Now,
that's a good way that when you have an offense that can deliver that, where you have that kind of depth, that's amazing. As I said, when I was playing, not just me, but like 2 guys, all the top teams, you had, one guy who was the guy,
star, right?
And you would throw your running backs out of the backfield, and you would throw underneath. But if you wanted somebody to spread the field and stretch the field, you had to have a receiver who could go deep, stop at 15 or stop at 12, get the first down, so forth and so on. Now they have 9 guys. I mean, that's like injury proof. That's, you can have 4 guys go down in the same game and you still haven't lost a step. You have the same speed, the same knowledge. They're competing with each other. And it's a fabulous, problem to have when sometimes your morale could be low when one guy wants to, I want my 6 catches, and you wind up with 3 and 3 and 3, so forth and so on.
Well, this is what Alabama and this Ohio States and Georgia's have been doing for the last 10 to 20 years. One guy graduates, okay, we're going to be fine here, and I'm so glad that we're going to have some of this back, hopefully, the way Freeman's been recruiting. I mean, we got Deuce Knight this week, committed, amazing. And I think, I forget his name, but just today, a huge offensive lineman committed.
Right.
Freeman is the best. And I know earlier you had mentioned you didn't want to say, but I'll say it. His name is BK, and he didn't bring players back. So now I'm glad Freeman is. So
I'm not going there. I'm not.
I know you, and we can. I didn't go to there. I'm a Subway alum, so
Yeah.
I'll take the heat for you, sir.
Yeah, but with those nine guys, I mean, that means that 9 consecutive plays you could change wide out and send him fresh legs down the field.
It's awesome.
And Hartman, the way he throws to lead guys, and just he's magic. And you got some zip on it. It's not a floater, not a fluster. It's a bullet. And you could, I mean, that's again what you were saying. Alabama and some of these other teams, Georgia, who have been living by through the air as well as on the ground. You have fresh horses, and that's deadly for a defense when you're huffing and puffing. Just coming back from a long haul down, you got to get back to the huddle and get ready to go again. So,
and also too, BK never played any of these younger guys like Freeman is. Freeman's not afraid to play freshmen.
Right.
Kelly never wanted to play. Why? I don't know. I'm not a coach, but anyway.
I was gonna say too, we all saw Hartman get tackled by that one guy and had his leg twisted. I'm just glad he didn't.
Ooh, that was a little, yeah.
Because man, that dude just kind of barrel rolled or gator rolled his leg once he had that. You could tell that was cheap. But then you heard the in studio referee guy that was like in the.
He said that should have been looked at.
He said in college football that's actually legal, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense because
I thought they were making a bunch of new rules.
He got pulled down by the offensive lineman. He didn't actually dive at his leg. That's why it was never called a penalty. Looking at the Notre Dame defense though this past week, Dennis and I were going back and forth on texting with his running game. They gave up 3.9 yards per carry the first time over. What did they have the last couple of weeks? 2.5, 2.4.
Yeah.
They gave up 131 yards on 34 carries. So to me, that was a little bit of a drawback.
And they gave up 14 first half points, which was the first for this year. I mean, granted, you know.
I think there may be a situation that that Bertrand's wasn't in the lineup.
Yeah. And Brown was out also.
Yeah, I think when you take experience they have out of the game, that creates an era where lots of errors on the part of younger players going the wrong way or filling the wrong gaps or whatever's going on. When Bertrand can cover a gap and a half, versus being able to make a big play. So that's what I have.
We are about to go to break. And before break, this is what Dennis and I do. We play a game called Name That Former ND Player. And this year we're doing multiple choice. So I have 4 names that I'm going to give you, but I'm going to give you the person's stats first. Dennis, you ready?
I'm ready.
We have Thom to watch this too because he would be. So he's a wide receiver. I had to go wide receiver.
Oh, here we go.
One of the greatest ever. He played from 2013 to 2015. Had a total of 144 catches, 2,512 yards, 17.4 yards per catch, and 30 touchdowns. Now, here are the names. You ready? TJ Jones, Rima McKnight, Jeff Samardzija, Will Fuller. Dennis?
Wow.
Nice.
No, I'm not even going to go
maybe
right now. We're not
going to go to break.
I'm not going to go to break. We're just going to go right through this, and we're going.
Said 13 to 15.
I'll read it again. So wide receiver from 2013 to 2015, 144 catches, 2,512 yards, 17.4 yards per catch, 30 touchdowns. You have TJ Jones, Rima McKnight, Jeff Samardzija, Will Fuller. Dennis is 3-1 this year.
3-1. I think I should be 4-1 after this. I'm going to say D, Will Fuller. Yes, because he caught I remember 2015. He caught the bomb from Deshaun at Virginia, and he's like the fan. So I remember that. That was, and CJ Procise also was in that game. Yeah, Will Fuller. He was awesome.
That was great. I didn't have that one in my head, so that's
I come up with some good ones. And
TJ Jones was tough, but I was like, he played earlier. So
yeah.
but the thing is, I'm trying not to double up what we've already done in the past. So now I'm
yeah,
kind
and
of
you did TJ Jones, I think, last year.
last year. Yes, I did. All right. So we have a pretty game apparently this coming weekend.
You
We have
think?
Ohio State.
Oh,
So I'm not calling them the THE Ohio State. They're just Ohio State Buckeyes to me.
yeah.
So it is the Notre Dame is actually a 3.5-point favorite.
Wait,
And-
we're favored?
No, I'm sorry, underdog.
Ohio State is 3 points favored. Yeah.
Thank you.
They're giving Ohio State 3, right?
They're starting. Is he a freshman? I think he is, right? Kyle McCord.
He is, but he's like a 5-star big time recruit.
So he's 3-0 to start the season, 815 yards, 6 touchdowns, 1 interception on the season. The running back, Travion Henderson, 30 carries, 191 yards, 4 touchdowns. But the person we have to worry about most likely, last year we didn't have to worry about him as much because we were talking about that. But he's a possible top 5 pick. Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver.
Hopefully he wins. Hopefully if our season goes well, maybe he'll win the Heisman and not the other guy.
Well, that's the way to get rid of him. Yeah.
So
I'd rather see him win the Heisman than that kid that plays for the University of Spoiled Children. So
I love that. So Dennis, what are you looking forward to seeing this week, and what are you expecting from Notre Dame?
This is, I believe, and I read that article too, and I just have to double with it, but this is the biggest game since 1 versus 2 1993 matchup of Florida State. Granted, I know we had USC in the Bush Push, and we beat Clemson at home a couple of years ago, but I remember the feel. I was at that game in my own little world in '93, but I have such a magical story about it. I don't have to get into it. So for me, it was like I was there, and I just remember the feeling of the buzz around campus and the university, and just at the time. And again, I was just in basic training in the Army as this game is being played, but I felt it. I could feel it through the TV, and just it was the first game day. So I really think I'm still going to go with my prediction as I did earlier. I'm not getting there yet, but I'm not going to be the homer, but I really have a feeling that Notre Dame can win this game. I think, and if they do, it'll just resonate so much for it. I think it will be the biggest win since we beat Florida State 93 for us.
Do you think
Since then, 30 years, we haven't had a huge win. And you know me, I lose my mind every time when we can't beat the Georgia and Bama's when we should be beating them, except for maybe 2012. We were clearly not ready for that game. But yeah, I'm excited. I think the defense will. I hope they play strong. They haven't shown much else, and hopefully they can get in this freshman's face and disrupt him because Harrison is really special, and so. But their defense is good. I mean, they don't miss. They're Ohio State, they don't miss a beat. So
do you know if Bertrand is back?
Yes.
Bertrand, Brown, and I believe a tight end is back. So yes, we had 3 of them.
I read that
Freeman
there were
updated it.
5 guys that were injured last week that are all back this week.
Good.
Yeah.
So that definitely goes toward a plus
Yes.
for helping Notre Dame, win this game.
Yeah.
I think the same is with the 9 horses, the wideouts. Stretching, because you've got a quarterback who can stretch the field.
Right.
Use him until his arm falls off. I mean, that's and therefore you can expect then Estime to have a decent game carrying the ball, because if they stretch the field, those linebackers are going to be dropping back a little bit more.
Yeah.
And those crossing patterns, because you get them going cross when he looks that down and then has gotten the guy downfield, he can hit the ball right in the hands. I mean, we've seen that over and over and over, and it's been a long time since we've seen that kind of quarterback accuracy. So
Boy, has it.
I think if you got that going, and Bertrand's in there with his smarts and his experience, and if we can hit some tight ends too, I mean, it's
Holden Stays is coming out. And we have. I don't think it's Raritan, but I know it's one tight end that's coming back that would be contributing to more to the rotation, if you will.
right.
The one thing I'm excited about this game is the fact, obviously, we have Sam Hartman, but the fact him being a seasoned quarterback, being able to
Yeah, in a
sit
big
the
game.
pocket in
Yeah.
a big game and actually stare down these rushers coming at him compared to, again, I'm going to refer to them as the lollipop kids last year. who had
The
happy-
Lollipop Guild.
And, Dennis and I shared the same exact gift this morning to each other, which was hilarious.
We always make a joke, Tom, about the size of Notre Dame's quarterback the last couple of years, and
Oh,
it's
right.
just, it would have been nice to have, I always beat my head against the wall a couple of years ago, because just think if we had a Trevor Lawrence like we used to get,
Yeah,
we might be right there with the Georgias and the Bamas. So
yeah.
But
I agree with that.
Having Sam Hartman being seasoned, being able to stand in, not being afraid to take a hit or kind of, I mean, he's been scrambling a couple times. I mean, I'd rather him not, because you don't want him to take that hit.
yeah, but when he does, it's the right time to scramble. He's not just running because he's scared and the pocket's collapsing. He's doing it because it's the right choice.
Yeah, you can see him going through his progressions all the time. I mean, he's got, if it's not gone in 3 seconds or 4 seconds or whatever, start looking for a gap somewhere.
Yeah, and he
to
checks down. It's so nice to see this.
And that's kind of what I'm expecting is Notre Dame's offense is still going to kind of come out like they have the last few games. I do think they're going to be a little bit slower just because of how good Ohio State can be. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm hoping the defense, though, is able to continue tackling better than they did last week, because I think they were having a little bit of an issue here and there.
Yeah, they still need to fix that tackling.
Wrap up. Like you said, no shoulder bumping, actually wrap up.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get to our picks, is there another game this week, Dennis? Because this is like the week of the big games. I actually have like 5 listed here that I'm going.
Oh, wow. I'm just looking now because I didn't do any homework just yet. But
All right, well, then I'll start with what I have.
Yeah,
So
go for it.
I have Alabama and Ole Miss 13-15.
Ole Miss is gonna win.
Yep, I have Ole Miss winning. Oregon
Bama doesn't scare anybody now.
and Colorado. Colorado again has won. They're 3-0. That was a crazy.
I'll take Oregon just because this is a big match, but then again, it's like what happens when you go against Dion. You should never. This guy is unbelievable.
Speaking of Dion, next week's guest. Oh my God, we got Emory Moorhead, Super Bowl.
Emory Moorhead, 85 Bears. They play with Dave Doerson too. Dave Doerson went to ND.
So
it's amazing.
Some of the other games that we have number 14 Oregon State against 21 Washington State, and then we have Penn State number 7 versus Iowa 24. Those are the 5 other ones that I'm kind of looking at. I don't know if there's another game that Tom's interested in seeing or watching, or what kind of sparks your interest.
Yeah, you seem to have the right mix. You got some ranked guys out there and stuff.
I'm just
the
Colorado
noon game.
Midnight.
Florida State Clemson.
That's another one, but Clemson's not ranked right now. But I can see
right, but you see Clemson. It's at Clemson, and Florida State. I mean, Boston College wins that game. You take away 5 penalties, 18 penalties in Boston College. That's nuts. Anybody will lose that game. Yeah, 18 penalties. Yeah.
Holy cow.
So I mean, anyway, some good games this weekend. Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of bangers this weekend. All right.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna go to our picks. We ready?
Okay.
So
yes.
I know at the beginning of the season, Dennis and I did a what was it? The preview.
The whole season.
Did the whole season, picking game by game what we thought who would win. I had Notre Dame going 11-1. I had this game being a win. I still have this game being a Notre Dame victory. So my score: Notre Dame 31, Ohio State 24.
Wow.
40+ point game. I don't know why I'm not putting there, because you and I have been close the last couple of weeks with our points. So we're not far off. So I'm doing 31-24. Notre Dame's going to be 5-0 after this Saturday. Tom, are you going to be there? Oh yeah, you are going to be there. Duh, you're getting.
He's honored. He's the master of ceremonies.
You'll be sitting in Swarbrick's box again.
That's possible.
There you go.
Good.
I'm still waiting for an invite.
So Dennis, I'm going to go to you next with your pick, and then we'll have Tom go last.
Very good. Well, since I did predict in our preseason game or our first game of the season this year, I did pick them to lose this game because I really didn't expect what we'd be seeing on the field. I mean, I knew we would be going to make improvements from last year. I just didn't think it would, like the way the staff is gelling, and it's really nice. I am going to stick with what I said earlier, that Notre Dame will lose this game because I can't be a homer and switch. You know, I have to stick with it, right?
Yeah, very good.
I mean, yeah,
Go with your gut.
my gut says Notre Dame's going to win the game, but I got to stick with what I said earlier. So Ohio State 34, Notre Dame 31.
Oh, so you're having a 3-point game. Okay. Now we're going to go to the College Football Hall of Famer himself, Thom Gatewood.
32-27 Notre Dame.
I love it.
Yes.
Love it. Dennis, go to your room.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna go to timeout.
You know, because what I see when I watch the season so far.
Yeah.
There's a maturity going on with Freeman. He's not doing defensive coordinator business. He's staying on his side of the waters in the middle and seeing the game played. I think early in his head coaching, he got distracted. But he put fire where he saw the fire, and then you're not seeing the whole scope. He's on both sides of the scrimmage line and looking. He's got instincts like a defender. That's what he came from, linebacker. I know he wants to peek in, that situation. But he can do that cheerleading or teaching on the sideline when that player comes back to him, and he keeps the guys encouraged. He keeps them loose. He doesn't, so far, I don't think he's won any battles with the referees, but he's been trying to.
That's good though. I'm glad he's in their ear.
Yeah, he's letting them know that he's noticed it and he wants, some kind of, some leniency here. But I think his agenda during the course of the week, I think everybody's recruiting all year long. Everybody's got, things that they have to do. But I think he's got a lot more delegation that's working and giving him an opportunity to see what's developing before him. I think that's a good thing. So he's ready for a big game. He's had enough of, you didn't win the games that seemed like you should have won.
Right.
You were hung in the games with the other and you sort of teased us. I think he's building it up. He's got some personnel that he can depend on. These guys are 18, 19 years old. There's a lot of pressure on the guys. And again, when you're playing 9 guys and everybody's getting one catch or, whatever the case may be, they're not getting a lot of pressure performance opportunities. Once you have those, then you're a go-to, you can get open. That's going to funnel down to like 6 guys as opposed to 9 guys and having a tryout to see who can run the fastest, who can catch the most balls. So I think his attention is focused, on having that broad scope, not just one facet of the game, but 2 facets of the game. I think he's ready for a break open season.
And who doesn't want to beat the heck out of their own alma mater?
Yeah, that's fueling him too. I'm sure he wants to get in there.
Especially after last year's loss where they were so close because they held in there.
Yeah. Again, just think if we had a QB, all the difference. It was a 24-10 game. I mean, we were leading into the third quarter. Yeah, or the fourth quarter. It's just I'm tired of this coming up just short. And now, yeah, you're right. I think Tom hit it on the head. There's a confidence and a maturity.
Foxy, as they call
it. Those kids want to play. I think they would run through 2 buildings and they'll do anything for them.
Yeah, they're totally into him. Yeah,
it's great.
Yeah.
So I know I'm definitely excited. I'm going to be sitting at home watching it. I am not inviting my Ohio State friend over. He is staying at his house right over there. Yeah. So I told him I can't see him this week because I can't deal with him. So that's what I'm doing.
I got one friend coming over too, and that's it.
And Tom, obviously you're going to be at the game, but oh my God, it has been incredible and honor to have you on our show this week.
Yeah.
Thanks for the invite. It was great. It was fun. Good to
I know
meet
we
both.
tried. And we don't have to drop any money into our swear jars.
No, not today. We
At least
didn't
as
today.
of
See,
yet,
we
at
can
least
do
as
it.
of yet. Because we even put a poll up like 2 weeks ago. Do we swear too much? We had 10 votes that said no. And I'm like, wow, that's kind of shocking.
That's great.
We kind of
Yeah,
figured
but still, you know, we got to get. Ma'll be happy now. So.
exactly. You know, that older guy that yelled at us for swearing too much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Relax because you're on. But Tom, thank you so much. Obviously,
Thank you so much.
you're going to be
Thank
getting the 2023 Rockney Living Legend Award this weekend.
Congratulations.
Anything else
Yeah.
you want to promote or say before we go?
No, I got the best.
I get it.
God, you're my favorite ever. You're not on social media or anything, are you? You're like, yes. God, you're the best.
Response to his emails though, so that's fantastic. I love that.
There you
love
go.
it.
There you go. Well,
So-
thanks, guys. I appreciate the invite. Had a good time.
Thank you, and
Thank you.
we'll be watching your son or grandson AJ Dillon on the
Got
pack
it.
because
Go back. Go back.
Go Pack.
And make sure you guys are following us on the social medias where we are Nation. We are everywhere. And our website is weareNDNation.com. So again, for Thom Gatewood, the College Football Hall of Famer, Dennis Stover, myself, Evan J. Thomas. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Go
Go
Irish.
Irish. And I'm doing it. Fuck the
Yeah.
University of Spoiled Children.
50
All right.
right there.
I had to get one in there.
All
Thank you, Tom. I'm going to stop recording right now.
right.
All right. Thank you.
Wow.